down principles which connect work with the people. Okay, so but before we go and try to read out the his four principles, let's have some interesting videos before that. So I'm just playing that. Actually, this statement, no, workers are paid according to number of outputs they produce in set period of time. Piece rate pay means if you produce one piece, you're going to get some money for per piece. So piece rate pay, that's what it means, that uh, for each piece which you produce, you're going to get some money, and which will be called as a rate, which will remain constant with the amount of work that you're doing. Okay, so it further led to development of these scientific principles, because now how do you define a piece? How do you find out what should be paid for that? Okay, and how do I know that this rate is the best you can give for certain part which is being produced? Okay, so workers will be encouraged to maximize their productivity. That productivity basically means, right now we can say, is output divided by input. So they want to increase the output for a given value of the input. So this was a small video. Then I'll play one more video which now talks about the theory which emanate from what he said just now, that you have to piece piece rate.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire,
What is Taylor's theory of scientific management about? F. W. Taylor from the USA is one of the founding figures of management theory. When Taylor first became well known in the early 20th century, manufacturing was very different from today. The owners of a business, by and large, confined themselves to telling their staff what to make and how much to make, and not really how to make it. Craftsmen played a much greater role in manufacturing. These craftsmen largely decided for themselves what tools they would use and in what sequence tasks would be performed. Taylor saw that this was wasteful. He argued that business should have a clear idea
What he's saying, why he thought that it is wasteful is because every craftsman is doing job in his own sequence. Like they're not trying to find out the best sequence in which the work can be performed. Probably, uh, I mean, it's somewhat like कि आपके घर में जब वाइपिंग होती है, पोछा लगता है, तो you do it after jhadu, right? So it's the same thing, that sequence is an important thing. Now if you wipe first and then you clean, then the whole purpose is lost. It will not be cleaned. So first you have to do dry cleaning, and then after that you have to wipe. Okay, so this is a basic, you can say, meaning of what he meant to say over here.
of what a production worker might reasonably be expected to do. Crucial to this was a careful standard or measurement of work. Taylor developed what came to be
Measurement of work. How do I measure how much work I've done? Because then you're going to pay according to that.
known as time and motion studies. Workers were watched and timed
Time and motion study was proposed by him, where the workers were watched while they were doing the work, and they were timed that they are doing it in correct manner or not, and how much time they're taking.
doing their jobs. Operational processes could then be redesigned by management using this data. Workers were expected to work to much more closely defined standards.
So worker will be given a way to do a task. It is not that worker is going to decide that how he's going to do the task. The standard way of doing the task will be told to him. So the work will be standardized.
Using scientific management, more efficient and cost-effective methods of production can gradually be put in place. This will lead to increased labour productivity and lower labour costs. Taylor made three assumptions about management. Firstly, that decision-making was purely a management role. Workers are just required to provide their physical labour. Secondly, workers were only viewed as machines with certain powers and capabilities. It was up to managers to identify ways of finding the best use of labour. Thirdly, Taylor assumed that money was the primary motivation for employees. What was Taylor's influence? The ideas of Taylor about scientific management influenced some of the great entrepreneurs of the early 20th century, including car maker Henry Ford, who was one of the first manufacturers to develop an assembly line. In an assembly line, the production process is broken down into its constituent tasks. Different workers are each given one task to perform. Products are carried by a mechanical belt down a line of assembly workers who perform the same task over and over again. This is an example of what is called division of labour. These production workers, unlike those of earlier generations, need fewer skills, but because of the repetition involved, they can work quickly. Before assembly lines, manufacturing typically involved skilled workers moving through various stages to make a product from beginning to end. The invention of the assembly line, however, enabled the mass production of consumer goods at low prices. Division of labour can bring down unit costs. But is there much connection between scientific management and motivated workers? Assembly line work can be very monotonous and boring. Taylor seems to have given little thought to workers as people rather than as tools. In terms of improving efficiency, Taylor's ideas remain very influential. However, more recent thinking suggests that people's attitudes to work are more complex than Taylor suggested. What do you think? Is money the only reason for wanting to work hard? You might like to try these questions. Question 1. Explain why time and motion studies can reduce unit costs. Question 2. What do you think is meant by a high division of labour? Question 3. What do you see as the advantages and disadvantages of the manufacturing process that involves a high division of labor?
These are the questions which you are supposed to answer. I will be posting a assignment where these 3 questions are to be answered, and answer should not be like very theoretical. You have to find some instances or some cases, then you have to answer. Okay, so we go to the lecture part now. I'm sorry, there was a disturbance. Yeah. Okay, so we go ahead and find out what these 4 principles of scientific management are. First is study the way workers perform their task. So study the worker perform their task means from the way from what angle should I look at it, that whether he is doing perfectly or not, or is he wasting time, or is there a better alternative way of doing the task. So these are the things I should be looking for while I'm studying it. Gather all the informal job knowledge that worker possesses and experiment with the ways of improving how tasks are performed. So for that, he suggested to do time and motion study. So here you need cameras and stopwatches, and there you see that can the work be broken down into some standard elements. So this is what we are going to study later on. How can we break down the task into standard elements? So first principle says that study the way workers perform their task and gather all the informal knowledge. Informal knowledge basically means that a worker might be more capable than what work has been assigned to him. So that's why you get informal job knowledge about the worker as well, and experiment with the ways of improving. So then it requires experimentation. If the same work uh, could be done in a different way, in a better way or not. The second principle says codify the new methods of performing tasks into written rules and standard operating procedures. See, nowadays we have a lot of standard operating procedures. For example, in if let's say you have some problem with your laptop, okay, so you run online diagnostics. Then there are some standard protocols or standard steps which come. Okay, step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 4, do this. Similarly, so we codify the new methods of performing task. So any task could be done in some standard. If it is a repetitive task, it can be done in a standard way. For example, आप एग्जाम की तैयारी करेंगे, ओके, तो आप एग्जाम की तैयारी करने के स्टैंडर्ड प्रोसीजर्स क्या हैं, बता सकता है कोई? लेट्स से एग्जाम है, तो लेट्स से 7 days before the exam starts, your process of preparing for exam is going to start. Now how you're going to standardize it, और या इसके स्टैंडर्ड स्टेप्स होते हैं कुछ, आप कोई बताएगा? Anyone?
So could you please repeat the question?
The question is that I'm talking about point number 2. Okay, codify the new methods of performing tasks into written rules. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'm talking about point number 2, where we say that codify the new methods of performing tasks into written rules. ठीक है, तो अब एक काम करेंगे आप सभी, कि जो एग्जाम का जो टास्क है, मान लीजिए आपको एग्जाम देना है 7 दिन बाद एग्जाम स्टार्ट हो रहे हैं, तो स्टैंडर्ड स्टेप्स क्या होते हैं आपके एग्जाम देने के या एग्जाम प्रिपरेशन के स्टैंडर्ड स्टेप्स क्या होते हैं आपके? तो आप उसको लिख के व्हाट्सएप में डालिए, ग्रुप में फोटो खींच के, और 5 मिनट दूंगा मैं आपको,
सर
आप
डायरेक्ट
उसको,
टाइप करते हैं उसी में?
हाँ जी, टाइप नहीं करना, आप हाथ से लिख लीजिए उस पे पेपर पे, एंड सेंड अ फोटोग्राफ ऑफ दैट इन द ग्रुप.
ओके सर.
Every one of you do that. And I'll just talk about some of them, what you are sending.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So what are we supposed to do? I just missed that due to network
Okay.
problem.
आपको स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोसीजर बनाना है एग्जाम देने के लिए या एग्जाम प्रिपरेशन के लिए. आप बोल लीजिए कि क्या स्टेप्स होते हैं आपके एग्जाम. आप एग्जाम है आपका मान लीजिए 7 डेज बाद, अब आपके क्या स्टेप्स होंगे?
Okay, sir.
I've got one right now. Devshri Rao. Know the syllabus, collect books and study material, distribute topics, complete syllabus once, reverse things, solve past papers to boost performance, relax. Good. So this is the first one. Let's see, I've got few others as well. Knowing the subject, knowing its syllabus, preparing the timetable, following the timetable. So now, see, that's what I'm saying. The whole purpose will know now. So SOPs for preparing for exams, list down all the topics to be covered, prepare a timetable that divides time for all the topics, follow the designated slots. So going through the reference books, reading the notes thoroughly, solving previous exam, Devansh Garg is saying, going through questions in supplementary textbooks, relax, revise. I mean, now we can see the kind of variety which we are getting. We are going to get 100 different answers, right? So actually this was a task which I had given, and the kind of variation which is coming, exactly what was happening when exactly what happens when you can say a cottage worker does the work, and this is what Taylor is talking about, because you are not getting any, you're not following any fixed steps over here. I mean, if I have to standardize this work of writing SOP, how do I standardize it? I hope you're getting what I'm saying. What I mean over here is that we have 120 students in the class. Every student is writing their own way. Similarly, in factory or in a work environment, if it is not standardized, if the standard operating procedures are not there, everyone will give a different answer, which means every output will be different, which means lot of variation, which means quality gets suffered because you don't know what kind of output is coming. Okay. Now this kind of assignment which I've given just now, it has two it served two purposes. First purpose, it served that it highlighted the importance of standardization. Now there should be a standard way of writing SOP again. Okay. So standard, what should be the standard way of writing SOP? We can talk about, we can deliberate about that later. But now coming to the second point is that the task that I gave you for to create SOP was a very big task, and it was spanning across many days, and it had many components. Okay, so making an SOP for a very large task which spans across many hours or many days is not a good practice. So we break down the task into multiple smaller elements. Now if I ask you that what is SOP for giving writing a paper, writing an exam paper, what is SOP for writing a paper, it will be much easier for you to write those. Okay, why it will be easier for you to write? Because it does not span across many activities. There are very few activities that you keep your all pens and pen on the table, keep your identity card on the table, read all the questions first, and then decide which how should you be splitting your time into, and then start writing the paper, and maybe 5 or 6 activities could be added in it. So the idea is that you should not take a task very big altogether and start making start to standardize it. See if you can break it down into now giving an exam. I've said giving an exam or preparing for an exam could be splitted into again several small components. Like first is preparing the notes, okay, or preparing the stuff which you're going to read. Then you can that could be standardized again. Okay, then further there could be your time schedule which you're going to follow during the day. You could make a timetable for yourself, stick to that schedule. It could be standardized again. Okay, then further it could be more standardized by preparing for next day exam is there. So how do you prepare your kit for giving an exam? Okay, and what should be your night schedule before you sleep for an exam? When you wake up in the morning, how should your standard procedure be? I mean, anyway, I have stressed it a lot, but that's how it is supposed to be in an industry, or if you have to achieve efficiency in your operation. So this is the meaning of the second point. Codify the new methods of. Codify means code is something which can't be changed. Code is something which is code is something which can be changed, but then if the code is written no matter what kind of input you give, it is going to process it in a specific way. So that's why it is written as codify. Then third principle is carefully select workers who possess skills and abilities that match the needs of the task. अब बहुत ज्यादा स्किल्ड वर्कर को कोई छोटे काम के लिए रख देंगे तो वो भी अच्छी बात नहीं है. जैसे एग्जांपल मैंने आपको वीडियो दिखाया था, उसमें म्यूजिशियन एंड स्वीपर का एग्जांपल था. नॉट दैट एनी स्वीपर के उसको हम डिमीन कर रहे थे. It was just that a person who is capable of singing should not be sweeping. Getting it? So that's why I carefully select workers who possess skills and abilities that match the needs of the task, and train them to perform the task according to established rules and procedures. So what was the first principle? First principle was about the time and motion study. The second principle was to standardize the task or make standard operating procedures. The third one is to allocation of the work to the workers and their training according to established rules and procedures. So nowadays, like we have COVID guidelines, if you are going out of house, there is standard operating procedure. So if standard operating procedure is there, what is the advantage? The chances of variation, chances of making a mistake are less. Okay. And the fourth one is establish a fair and acceptable level of performance for a task. Now, this is a big thing because you are like a worker is there, he's doing a job of 10 pieces per hour. Another worker is there who's making 15 pieces per hour. Another worker is there who's making 5 pieces per hour. So, whom do you say is a very good worker? Whom do you say is a standard worker? And whom do you say is a bad worker? We don't know that. Maybe all the three are good. Maybe standard says that only 3 pieces are meant to be made. A standard worker is going to make 3 pieces per hour. So all the three are good in that sense. So we need an absolute. We need a datum, or we need a standard with which we can compare which worker is doing good, which worker is doing bad. Okay. Now, let's say in 1 hour, I'll give you 200 questions to answer, objective questions. And I'll do that. But I'm not joking. Definitely you're going to get a lengthy paper in exam. But then, okay, coming back to this, let's say I give you 200 questions in an exam. Okay. And all of you do attempt it. And many of you were able to attempt 120 questions. Many of you were able to attempt only 80 questions. Now, how do I say that what should be the standard? How do I expect that in an hour, how many questions out of 200 should a student should be able to answer it? Yeah. Please mute your mic if you're not saying it.
Around 3 questions.
Around 3 questions. Okay. 3 questions means
In a
in a
minute.
minute, 3 questions. Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes it 180 questions. I can expect 180 questions to be attempted by a student in an hour. Okay. So this is some standard. So that's what it means. Establish a fair or acceptable level of performance for a task. What is acceptable? So if a standard student or an average student is able to do 180 questions, I probably should be upping my game and making it 220 questions. Okay. And then develop a pay system. For you, the pay system is marks. For a worker, the pay system is something like, if you are producing 5 pieces in an hour, you're going to get 2,000 rupees. Okay, so 2,000 rupees an hour for 5 pieces. If you are not able to do that, your performance will be counted lower. And if you are doing better than that, you are a high performing worker, and probably you could be rewarded later, or some rewards could be associated with that. So in this course, we are also going to read about it, that how do we calculate, how do we standardize the work, and how do we calculate the wage for a worker? How can we establish wages for the worker with these scientific principles? Now, with these 4 principles, what are the positive effects? It led to unprecedented productivity improvement. Of course, we can see that it helped it helped Henry Ford in making his assembly lines, and you could see from 1909 to 1927 how their production capacity was boosted, which basically was supplemented by these 4 scientific management principles by Taylor. Second was rise of mass production, which led to low price. So it led to success of a mass production. In mass production, we are producing continuously. We produce for mass. So that means we can standardize it because it is involving repetitive tasks. It led to development of complex products such as car, plane, and tanks. Can anyone tell why? Development of complex products?
So due to when we break it into standardized products, then it is easy to make complex parts.
Or we can say
सर आपकी वॉइस ब्रेक हो रही है थोड़ी.
Yes, sir.
सर वॉइस ब्रेक हो रही है आपकी.
which is more complex.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, your voice was breaking. We were not able to hear you.
मीटिंग लीव हो गई. सर है क्या मीटिंग में अभी?
नहीं है यार.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes sir, you are audible now.
I don't know. I got logged out. Yeah.
पॉजिटिव इफेक्ट वाली स्लाइड के बाद आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही सर.
So positive effect. Yeah. So development of complex products. It led to development of complex products for the reasons that they require a lot of investment, and if you have to make car, you have to be economical also. So with the use of scientific principles, they could standardize the small tasks, and they could achieve efficiency, and they could now when you are doing repetitive tasks, you can have some quality standards also laid down, and because of that standards, you were able to make car, planes, and tanks, these kind of things. Rise of management profession. So because of the MBA degree which you see now is an outcome of these four scientific management principles by F.W. Taylor. So MBA degree is a gift of F.W. Taylor. Okay, it led to large scale employment for the simple reason that more and more production was happening.
Sir, are you sharing the screen?
Yeah, I'm sharing the screen. I think you are in other room. Let me see if there's an issue with that. Okay, yeah. So rise of management profession, large scale employment for the simple reason because of the mass production, and mass production allowed the evolution of consumerism. What is consumerism? Anyone? Anyone who can say what is consumerism?
सर प्रोडक्ट बढ़ जाना, अफोर्डेबल हो जाना, मतलब सबकी मास प्रोडक्ट होता है तो प्रोडक्ट सस्ता होता है, तब लोग ज्यादा अफोर्ड कर पाते हैं उसे.
So let's count the kind of products which every one of us has in our house. We have television in our house, everyone. We have mobile phones, everyone. We have ready-made clothes, every one of us have that. We have tables, chairs, air conditioners, fans. So these are all because of consumerism. Like everyone has that. Are you getting it? Even though we might have survived earlier without it, like air conditioners. I mean, when I was kid, in our whole colony, or I mean, we could just in Jaipur, we could just count the number of air conditioners which were there. Okay, I mean talking about in 80s. Now it's something becoming a norm. Like in cities, almost every household is having an air conditioner, a refrigerator. When we were born, there were no refrigerators in houses. It only came after 90s. Okay, so in a regular household, now everyone's having a refrigerator. So this is a consumerism. We could survive without these things, but we have it because it is available in such a large quantity. It is being promoted as an essential. Okay, and we are part of a society where everyone starts using it. It becomes a norm. So this is called a consumerism. Okay, toothpaste or soap or shampoo, all these are products of consumerism. I hope you get that. So because of mass production, it all happens. So most of the things which you are going to purchase in a departmental store like Big Bazaar or Reliance or whatever, all those items are consumer items. Again, then they can be further classified as appliances and FMCGs. Okay, then negative effects on organization and on worker. So negative effect on organization is that it led to hierarchy in the organizational structure. Earlier, only one person was the owner of the company and rest everyone was on the same level. But then later, because of the standardization, because of the breaking of the parts in the components, people were there to look at people were there to work who are producing. People were there to supervise these workers, and people were there to aggregate the supervisors and take reports from them. Getting it? And there comes the owner. So a hierarchy was developed, and as long as hierarchy is there, it's always it's something that the voice of the people of the bottom, people who are at the bottom of the pyramid, does not reach at the top. Are you getting what I'm saying? So that's why it is being called as a negative effect. Anyone? Where else do you see hierarchy? We have hierarchy.
सर कॉलेज
Yeah.
ये सर मतलब पहले प्रोफेसर लोग होंगे, फिर
हाँ.
मैनेजमेंट होता है, फिर डायरेक्टर होता है, ये हायरार्की है सर.
Right, you can say that. So that is like in our institute also we have a faculty where we have, again in faculty there is assistant professor, associate professor and professor. 3 different people are there according to their experience. And then above them there is a deanry, and above deans is director. So it's again a hierarchy. Now the kind of problem which I'm facing right now, let's say for a faculty, or the kind of problem which I'm facing right now, it could be anything related with the course I'm taking, or it could be related with any other issue related to my profession. I can't just directly go and talk about it with the director. I have to pass through a channel, through my head of department, and then it goes to the. So lot of time elapses in between. Many people would not just go about telling it because there's a lot of pain and time involved. There's a lot of paperwork involved. So that is one thing. And the second point is that it required more coordination. Now, because simply that we have standardized everything. Now everyone has to do it in a standard way. And also you have to monitor how many pieces each worker is producing. You have to do time and motion study, all these. So it required increased coordination. Now, when increased coordination is required, see, chaos is always easy. If you can live with chaos, your life is good. But if you want to be more systematic, you have to be more coordinated. You have to be more disciplined. So these are the negative effects of scientific management. Like you have to like train people. You have to put them in a line, make them stand in a line in a kind of a way. So it required increased coordination. Large number of non-value added activities added. So many activities like standardization, watching the videotapes and standardizing the work is a non-value added activity in a way, until unless you start using it in a. So payback period could be long in that कि आपको कितने टाइम में रिटर्न मिलेगा. आपने एक स्टडी करी, ठीक है, आप वर्कर को बता रहे हैं ऐसे ऐसे करना है. आपने पहले इसकी रिकॉर्डिंग करेंगे, आप फिर देखेंगे कि काम को बेस्ट तरीका क्या है करने का, आप वैसे करेंगे, फिर सबकी ट्रेनिंग करेंगे, राइट? सो इन्वेस्टिंग अ लॉट ऑफ मनी. And then when the workers start doing it in a certain fashion, they should be able to do it, replicate the same thing for at least 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 pieces. Then only it is going to pay this kind of effort which you have done. Otherwise, it becomes a non-value added activity. Getting it? So again, it's a negative effect. On workers, they were being treated as machines rather than humans. So, I mean, that's still the story. Not much has changed over a period of time. Because in the DNA of the man, it's in the DNA of the management that which is given by F.W. Taylor, that a worker should be could be considered as a machine. Getting it? So we will talk more about these things later. So effects on the organization of work. Uh, the development of mass production, it transformed the organization of work in three important ways. First one was tasks were minutely subdivided and performed by unskilled workers or at least semi-skilled workers. So जितना स्किल आपको कॉटेज इंडस्ट्री में चाहिए होता है उतने स्किल की जरूरत नहीं है, बिकॉज बहुत ही छोटे छोटे टास्क में सबको डिवाइड कर दिया गया है. तो दैट्स व्हाई अनस्किल्ड वर्कर्स भी यूज में लाए जा सकते थे. एंड जो भी स्किल थी, ज्यादा से ज्यादा जो स्किल का पार्ट था वो मशीन में ऑलरेडी एम्बेडेड था. सो वर्कर्स जस्ट मे बी हैव टू मूव द वर्क पीसेस फ्रॉम हेयर टू देयर और समथिंग लाइक दिस. So I'll just show you a video. I mean, otherwise I'm going to forget it. Just a second. Very small video of Charlie Chaplin working in a factory. Modern times, 4 minutes. Yeah. So just a second, I'll just share it. Not this.
सुपर सुपर मेट्रो होलसेल पाइए 5 स्टार क्वालिटी होलसेल प्राइसेस में. सुपर
Section 5, give it a limit.
You can observe that this guy is not going to do much except that turning on this wheel and all. So you could imagine why means there's a pun involved over here, that he's doing a repetitive job continuously, just tightening the nuts. And there is that supervisor continuously on his head. So he's actually a slow worker, I mean, not a standard worker. So he's struggling to do that. He's finding different ways of doing it. There was no animation that time. This whole setup had to be done, yeah. Although it looks like comedy over here, but then he's still struggling to work. I mean, you can see the condition of the workers during that mass production times. So this was the main thing. I mean, This video tells many stories. Actually, it's just a small clip which I've shown you, but it tells many stories, and we are going to talk about and refer it to back and forth again later. Now I'm opening the attendance sheet. You can give the attendance.